They don't have all the gold to back the ETF. So
It's
a way to control the price of one asset without holding fast.
They have
decades and every month, week, dollar, Bitcoin's are here.
yeah.
It's like saying, oh, here we've got all these contracts for gold, but the fact is, it's extensively researched and proven that they can't deliver all of these papers. They've got 100 bits of paper for every individual contract.
But that's the design, that's the whole purpose of future. That's the future and form.
Yeah, but it's saying, but he's saying they're backed by that. But maybe backed in a small way.
It doesn't actually back.
To the best of my knowledge, the proposals are planning to back it with reserves.
Very large stores of Bitcoin. Obviously, whatever the level of coin is.
They want to inflate Bitcoin using ETF, that's what it is.
They want to inflate it.
Yes, they're inflating Bitcoin, the supply of Bitcoin by using ETFs. They are inflating the market of Bitcoin by using ETFs.
There's no suggestion that it's there. What it allows people to do is bet on the price of Bitcoin and invest it as a bet without having the risk of losing private keys, without actually having to find out how to purchase it. If they know how to buy shares in the traditional market or futures in the traditional market, they can make the exact same movements and get Bitcoin and be exposed to its risk, which is also its reward.
Does that influence price?
It influences the price if and only if it's backed by reserves, which I think a Bitcoin ETF would need to be.
The proposal I just looked at them is up to 2 times leverage. Yeah, to start with.
It can be backed by like the margin pay. That's all it is. It's not backed by actual.
Bitcoin at all?
Yes, because it's got margin trading involved, which is exactly like what gold did too. They had a lot of that and they had margin trading. All they did is create 500 times the inflation of gold. And I traded for 10 years. I traded gold that isn't actually gold.
So does that mean that the coin, when you went to sell the coin, would actually be worth nothing? Or would it be
Probably.
worth market?
It's a way
It's worth
basically
something
from the bank
because someone will buy it knowing that they can sell to someone else. It's a game of great fools.
Won't it cause some level of stability on the coin itself?
It caused the price of gold to be suppressed. That's an example. The price of gold was suppressed by a huge amount.
But it didn't cause the massive fluctuation that we're seeing on this sort of graph, though, did it? It would have stabilised the price of gold, wouldn't it? Or did it?
It's a way to control an asset without owning it, basically, because you can print up as many ETFs as you like, and then you can dump all them on the market.
This is how they
lower
inflate
price.
Bitcoin.
It's basic stuff, and it's banking 101.
If they don't like the price of it, they can
To
create more.
the average hunter with some coin? Make it go up or make it go down?
Well, it's going to do both, and most of the non-commercial positions will be wiped out. Because if you look at just before we had that recent uptick, the non-commercial
will control price.
institutional money will always take the dumb money. Smart money will take the dumb money, and ETFs is a great way to get.
I said ETF is going to be the biggest threat for Bitcoin about a year ago. And a lot of people didn't take me seriously, but that's going to happen.
So you're anti-ETF?
I would be
I
anti.
tried ETF for 10 years.
I think if you want to buy and sell Bitcoin. It's not hard. It's a couple of seconds.
I'm
What about
anti
large
Bitcoin
money,
ETF.
doesn't matter.
If you're trying to buy like $100 million worth.
Go and buy it. Grab the price. Or do what they do on the stocks. You know.
They want
Well,
ETFs like a
whatever.
Trojan horse into the value of the Bitcoin. They create more of it, and they can just, you know, they can absorb the demand, so the price doesn't even go up. So when people institutional investors
ETF as you like. You can't create as many bitcoins as you can that day.
So you've got paper
paper Bitcoin.
on the non-existent Bitcoin.
Yeah, correct. It's just it's virtual.
It's the same old shell game, but done on every commodity
So
over the century.
if you go back to the original purpose of futures, it was
When the stock was out.
no, it goes back. Yes, it goes back to
Crops were
For
out,
farmers
you had to
to
say,
get a price for their
pay
money
the
back.
farmer to grow the crop.
yeah.
It's a future, in the future it will crop will grow. Actually, no, but Access 1920 stock exchange collapse occurred because of the drought in the industrial part of the
Futures
world.
and this
But
instrument.
I didn't know that it went through to this.
But for the rest of
So
it,
yeah, so pretty much the idea was that a farmer is taking all this risk, they're growing crops, they don't know what the weather's going to be for the next year, so they could sell what was originally forwards, which was effectively we guaranteed this price for this amount of wheat in 6 months' time, so they could lock in their price and know what was going on. That sort of evolved over time to futures, which is you no longer give the asset. So in a forward contract, you say, I'm going to give you wheat in 6 months' time, and you actually physically have to deliver the wheat, and then you get cash back. A future, which is what this is sort of aimed at, is it's cash settled. So instead of actually having to deliver the wheat, which is a pain because you have to ship it to, say for example, America, you might be in a forward contract with someone on the opposite side of the country. So instead of that, why don't we just settle in cash? So we say we're going to pay $10, the price is $12 in 6 months' time, so I'm just going to give you $2, and then, so that's the difference. So we agreed at 10, it was 12. So all I'm going to do is give you the $2 difference, and then you can use that $2 plus the $10 that you've already put aside to buy it, and you can just buy it from your local wheat farmer. That's the original simple concept of futures.
Exactly. So there's no need to have. So there's no need to actually have the underlying asset in any way, shape, or form, and because of the banks, limitless supply of money, limitless supply of ETFs, it's like really has very little to do with Bitcoin.
They're just synthesizing it. It's just synthetic derivative.
ETF buys the asset. That's the difference between a future.
No, ETF sometimes don't even buy the asset.
In an ETF, you fundamentally hold the underlying.
Most
That's
is
right,
synthetic.
that's what an
Requires
ETF is by
custody.
definition. Not a contract of difference. An ETF has to hold the underlying asset.
Correct.
And how do you margin trade an ETF?
Yeah, they margin trade out of it, so that's how they hold the value. That's how they peg it. By margin trading, they don't actually hold
You
it.
could have a secondary margin
Yeah.
trade on an ETF, but the underlying ETF still has
The ETF has to
A proper
hold.
ETF,
holds
yes, a proper
That's
ETF.
it.
But most of these synthetic now. They're synthetic ETFs.
if you're overcomplicating. There's an ETF that holds the underlying asset. If you then take that ETF and create a secondary market, sure, you can do other things with that. You can, trade it for basketball cards. But underlying the definition of an ETF is that they hold the assets as opposed to a future, which is more like a bet.
Yeah.
But once people accept the value and trade on that value of the synthetic ETF, they can just unpeg it and bang, away it goes. They can exploit that.
So when you say synthetic, you mean futures and options?
No, it doesn't have the coin underneath it.
No, futures and options on the ETF.
It's a derivative of a derivative. So
Yeah,
that
but I'm wondering.
it doesn't need to have. At first they'll say, hey, look, it's backed by this, and then as market accepts it, they just grow it, and they go, hey, you know what? We can just create ETFs. We don't need backing because people just accept it. People accept its value.
And we can just, we can just pay them the money if we don't.
Synthesize
If
as much
someone,
as
if
market
someone
can
seeks
handle.
delivery of it, then we can just pay them cash.
Yeah.
And we can magic cash up in the back.
It's a bet on the action of the real ETF.
we can loan into existence, anything.
And would it make the market ultimately crash or what?
Oh yeah, that's what CDO crash was all about. Synthetic.
That's my understanding.
Yeah.
The derivatives crash was all about.
The synthetic CDOs crashed. The 2008 crash was all about synthetic CDOs, and they just repackaged debts, and then they just bet on the packaging of the debt, the rating of they just bet on the synthetic CDOs, and it was a massive crash because of that. If they took away all that, then they wouldn't be multiplying the leverage effect of the debt. But they went ahead and just went crazy.
Just in a simple term from the bank's perspective, it's just a huge opportunity because from the bank's perspective, it's a huge opportunity to just make commission off a different stake. So if there's an ETF there, you buy it, they make commission. You sell it, they make commission. There's lots of interest there, so lots of, if you like, retail institutional investors buying and selling, but retail, that's lots of commissions coming and going. So it's free, it's easy money, so it's going to be more profitable for them. So yeah, I can see the attraction of an ETF, but from people, I suppose, that are interested in the underlying benefits of cryptocurrency for society at large, and honest money. Well, ETF, I think, is maybe one of the 4 steps towards eroding that confidence.
Why would the GFC, would they allow ETFs to continue then?
They
From a
created
legal point of view,
They created it.
the governments.
No, I mean the crony capitalists created it, and they actually fund the acceptance. They drive the acceptance of the ETF by buying it to begin with, and then when people feel that, hey, look, I can buy this synthetic instrument, and there's someone that will buy it off me at the same price as the real thing. Why am I trading the real thing? It's very hard to move lumps of gold. It's very hard to move lumps of something. It's very hard to move an when you trade, like for example, a stock, it takes 2 days to settle before you can reuse the fund to buy another stock. You might be able to trade a synthetic instrument that settles straight away, so you can go on and trade another thing. It has huge benefits when you don't have that problem where you have to settle 2 days to settle one way and 2 days to settle the other way. It takes 4 days to do an effective swap. A trade in the stock market.
People don't have to look after their private keys. You don't have to worry about having a ledger. You don't have to deal with any of that stuff.
Difficult part.
Yeah.
Just deal with the bank. That's all you got to do. You just got to deal with the.
You can tick the box on the superannuation to say invest this much in crypto, right?
There's no more Bitcoin than there is paper traded gold is gold.
So what do we think the ETF is going to do if it gets approved? Do you guys think it's going to go up?
It's going to suppress the price of Bitcoin.
It will go up initially for a few months until people start piling in, and then the usual rug will get. Thanks for coming.
Sell high.
They can keep the price of Bitcoin below 20
Same
grand
old.
forever. They can keep the price of Bitcoin below 20 grand forever.
Oh, will they?
But they could have. Well, it's very advantageous for them to keep it like that because then they can short it, right? It's a lot easier to make money shorting than it is to long.
Yeah.
So they're in the market of margin trading and movement. It's easier to short it, and if you want to short it, you've got to make the market. You've got to make the market down.
Why is it easier to make money short?
Because your money is a higher percentage when the price goes down than it is when it goes up.
The maximum you could make when it goes down, excluding margin, is 100%.
Sure.
And like there's no limit to the up.
Yeah, but if you mark the market, as you mark the market, your dollar mark to market is a higher percentage of the price than if it's going up. Say if Bitcoin goes to 15 grand, your mark to market is a lower percentage. As it goes down, your mark to market is a higher percentage. So your money in shorting has a bigger effect in other way.
Most markets always go down a lot quicker than what they go up.
It's easier to manipulate the market down than it is to push it up. Because pushing it up, actually chuck money at it. make it go down the more you.
Well, I always like to have this argument, and I reckon this is the closest it's looked to being over here since we started having this argument. If we have a look at this full cycle now, then we have a look at this again. We have up, down, and then we have this whole pattern, and then it looks like it's starting again. I reckon that looks almost identical to this pattern now. Up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up again. I reckon that literally looks almost the same.
I think you're going to compress it a bit more.
Compress this more?
Yeah, more slowly though.
I wonder if we can get
that second hump is more like where it says, what is it now? Anchor? Yeah, right about there. That the second hump there is right about where the anchor is.
I reckon that looks pretty simple. What do you guys think? Huh?
Yeah, it looks like we're pretty much at this point.
I reckon.
Yeah.
So we're going back on the growing ground.
No, I think we haven't gone
According to that.
We haven't actually gone down yet. We're right at the...
Oh, you think we're still in the little hump after the... It's not long enough.
You don't reckon that second one is anchor?
But... Yeah. That... This... Around about here. A long way from the next one.
You don't reckon this is here?
Yeah.
This is here.
No.
This
The
is
second
here.
hump, that second hump on the big graph is the second hump before the big, that is not there.
Oh, this one.
Second hump.
This one.
The second little hump.
What's
Yeah,
this
that,
one?
that is the first
And
hump.
this one.
No. You do it.
Here, yeah, the red one. What does everyone else reckon?
I reckon depression is good.
No, you can
The
use
depression
this.
is good.
These two. Right. That is around. So we're around here. We just have that little bull run.
Yeah.
ETF's not coming yet.
Well,
But ETF's going to push the market
that's
up
the
to
rumour.
start
ETF's
with.
coming.
We're going to come on the 10th.
ETF's coming. And
goes back to
yeah. We haven't hit depression yet.
So you think that next rise won't happen until
I was
next
wondering why it's feeling so good.
Why has been caught up with the same in the last month?
Probably a year away.
Well, you reckon that would be this.
We're at it.
Who else to disagree? One person. I'll go with you.
You've definitely got three descending lows at the bottom here in a straight line, which matches the three descending lows. Yeah, and that one, they're in a straight line.
Once it's hit down 3 times.
And they're all lower. They're
They're all low, they're
Descending
almost
lows.
linear. You can draw your
I think
trend
we
line
should wait
on.
until the next peak point until we determine like exactly where.
Yeah,
We
there's
want to see
also
where the top is.
there's also isn't an exact science. Right?
Yes, next
Yeah,
is
there's
the
also the
exact
fact that it might not follow this.
Like, yes, this is a very, very strong average pattern, but it's the average pattern
Yeah,
of
okay.
everything.
Just
It's
human
not going to be
emotions.
exactly the same.
It doesn't have to
Number
follow
of
it. Exactly. It's just interesting. Alright, next topic.
Want to look at Slido and see what's up there?
Use the Wall Street cheat sheet as self-reinforcing thing.
All analysis is self-reinforcing.
Yeah,
All
it might be a
TA
self-fulfilling prophecy.
Yeah, all TA is
Trying to follow it.
self-fulfilling. It's just trying to follow technical analysis. So it's the people that study the charts and find patterns, and there's enough people around the world finding the exact same pattern, and then bet that it's going to go up. Yeah, but because enough people have made that.
And they program the bots around TA, so the bots are going to push the trades towards what TA is going to do.
Mainframe. What is this?
Is that we need something to talk about. Well, alternatively, we could not talk about anything. Harrison could do his presentation and we could all eat pizza.
What do we think?
Zero. Is there anything else people want to talk about before I get Harrison?
Can I just ask about lightning? Anyone sort of got into it or?
Let's rip into that. Sure.
What questions do you have about
maybe we sort of start from scratch and just interested if anyone's getting excited about it.
Does anyone get pro lightning? I know there's a lot of anti-lightning.
So I'm not nearly ready for this yet. I'm far too busy, but I actually want to do a proper presentation once I've had a chance to use lightning, because everyone I've met is either pro it or against it, but most people are either pro it against it before they've actually experienced it, and then their experience has matched what they perceived beforehand. So this is something I'll do eventually. If at one of these talking trades, I'll get up and do a bit of a presentation on my experience of using it, and does it have all the bugs that the naysayers claim? Is it as easy or is it as useful as the pros claim?
Why don't you start with telling me what it is?
Jump on the phone.
No, just briefly, a couple of sentences.
Alright, so Lightning Network. There are two really big issues with Bitcoin. One is governance. That's something we will not talk about at the moment. The second is scalability. So when lots and lots of people use Bitcoin, it gets really expensive and really slow, and that sucks for something you want to actually use as a cash or whatever you want to use it for. So to massively oversimplify things, there were two main camps in the Bitcoin world. There were ones that said, well, let's just increase the block size, because that allows more transactions into the block. More transactions into the block means we can do more stuff more quickly and keep all sorts of reasons, and people were worried about that. One of the main reasons being you can send headers within your mining pool, and as blocks get larger, that has an impact on bandwidth. So smaller everyday computers, it's harder for them to effectively mine Bitcoin, and then centralization of miners is a problem because it decreases security of Bitcoin. The other side of it was, all right, let's leave Bitcoin as it is, and let's go to third-party or external software, which can sort of do similar things to Bitcoin, and then send everything back to the Bitcoin network, but take all these transactions out of it, and pretty much, well, Lightning Network, its concept is do 100 transactions here, sum it into 5 transactions on the Bitcoin network, so you're not blocking up. I'm just making up stuff. But yeah, pretty much you do the transactions off-chain, which is the keyword, and then that gets summarized, put into a small thing, and put on the Bitcoin network. So all your transactions sort of end up on the Bitcoin network, but not really. The net of them do, but each individual transaction doesn't. And then there's the worry that, okay, all of a sudden we've gone from Bitcoin's meant to be this thing where we don't have to trust each other because we've all got a record of every single person's transactions, and now it's not a third party, but it's not a third party. We don't have records of all the transactions anymore, so they're happening on this thing called Lightning Network. Now, if you talk to the people that are pro Lightning Network means you can make
real Bitcoin transactions instantaneously with no fee, well, very low fees, and have all the advantages that we want in scalability. But yeah, then there's all the technical side of it. It's unproven. It's a work in progress for many, many years. Anything else that I need to add?
I can bring the anti-lightning arguments that are
Yeah, go back.
Okay, so that's a pretty good summary of what the Lightning Network is. So essentially it's an off-chain payment network that lets nodes send messages to other nodes about the changes in the channels that they have open between them. And the Lightning Network changes the existing payment channel technology by planning to link these payment channels together, which is the key part of the Lightning Network. To have one chain be passed, to have one channel be connected to another channel, be connected to another channel, into a network of channels, such that if you send off-chain Bitcoin to one of the nodes, they can then pass it on through their open channels until it gets to the intended recipient. How this doesn't quite work in reality is when you consider the economics of liquidity and transaction routing. So there's a lot of potential for the Lightning Network if it can solve the routing problem which it's currently struggling vehemently against. So the routing problem is that whenever you send a transaction through the Lightning Network, it has to first calculate the exact route that it goes through, but while it's doing that, all of the conditions between the interconnected channels can actually change. Because in order to make a payment, each channel has to have at least that amount of liquidity. So if you have, if you go through, say, 5 different channels to get to your recipient, you have to have the amount of your payment in liquidity that is open between all of those people. All of those people don't communicate with each other, so there's no way to know if another transaction has come through and used all of that liquidity before you send your transaction. So that's why a lot of the payments fail, and why it ultimately will descend into a model where there is a couple of large payment hubs where people have custodial accounts, and then the hub sends the payment through on their behalf, because in order to run a Lightning node, it has to always be online, and you have to have Bitcoin before you can receive Bitcoin, which means it has to open a channel in the first place in order to use it. So that's a lot of the points against it. The routing problem means that your payment can fail if anyone decides to use the liquidity before you, and it means that you have to first open a channel, and for a casual transaction, it doubles the amount of transactions you need to actually do. If you would like to send Bitcoin to someone to buy a coffee, for example, you first have to open a channel, and then later on close the channel, and the other party has to match your channel with an equivalent amount of Bitcoin, even if they don't have any. They have to buy some first before they can receive it, which makes it very hard to grow the adoption rate. So that's my view.
Why not just increase the block?
Exactly right. Why not just increase the block size? That's what Bitcoin Cash did. That was the side of the fork that I identified with. And it's the one that's got low transaction fees, fast peer-to-peer cash today. So that's why I support it.
Have you ever used Lightning Network? Have you actually made a transaction on it?
I have not yet made a transaction. I endeavour to do so as soon as it becomes feasible.
Alright. So I guess I've heard that, and none of that seems wrong to me, but
yeah,
it's one of those things where we're living in a world where this is brand new and we actually have no idea what that means. Like, those problems may or may not be as severe as people make out, and that's
it's actually all off-chain anyway. So
it is off-chain, which is a massive step away from.
It's not a blockchain solution.
No. When it settles to the chain after the payment channel is closed, then it becomes a blockchain solution. Yes. But in order to get to that, you have to have an on-chain transaction.
Thousands of millions of transactions that will occur off-chain.
Yeah.
So if you lose any, if the payment doesn't proceed for whatever lack of liquidity or whatever, to track it irrefutably and immutably, is impossible.
There's no more immutability.
Yeah, that's right.
You lose the immutable characteristic of a blockchain transaction.
Not suitable for a currency.
In my view, yeah, I agree.
If you do nothing in Lightning, you are at the greatest danger. In Bitcoin, if you do nothing, your coin is the safest. In Lightning, you do nothing, your coin is the most at risk.
It depends on a reactive security model, is what I think you're getting into.
Yeah.
You have to. Yeah, go ahead. It was your question.
Just interested in if you think that there's a mechanism to make money. So if you had, if you set up a node, is it worthwhile making all those interconnections and funding all those channels, with the hope that there'll be lots of transactions, and then would that be profitable to go down that route?
So at this point in time, there is a small amount of profit to be made on the order of a couple of dollars a month. From the best of my knowledge, the largest Lightning Network node operators have made on the order of 30 cents over the course of having their node open for a little bit. And that's the largest node in the whole network.
And they had, what was it, like about 16 Bitcoins?
They had over $100,000 worth of Bitcoin liquidity in their node, the largest node.
And they made 30 cents.
But the incentives of running Lightning Network is completely different to Bitcoin. So if you run a Bitcoin node, primarily you're meant to be doing it for security, as in if you can validate your own transactions, you know everything's true, so you know when someone sends you money, you've legitimately got it. The second incentive is the money side of it, which is why all the miners or the mining pools get involved. Lightning Network, the incentives aren't so much financial, it's more usability, it's more we want to support Bitcoin, and Bitcoin is its own thing, so we're going to run a node so that I'm a merchant payment, I can get cash, Bitcoin for my coffees or whatever. So the incentives of running nodes in Lightning are very different to the game theory incentives of running Bitcoin nodes. So I don't think they can be compared.
So to get back to the question, yes, there is a minute amount of money at this time. When the network scales to have a larger payment volume, if these things like the routing problem can be solved, then that's great. At this point in time, there haven't been credible solutions to these problems. But if they are solved and the Lightning Network can scale by some alteration, then there would be profit in operating a node to pass the liquidity through it, a small amount of it.
Right, but that fee is adjustable, right? So you can set So if there was sufficient demand and all the nodes started, it was a competitive marketplace, and that fee could.
That's right. So the nodes that have higher liquidity would be able to charge higher fees because there would be larger payments that could be routed through them.
And because everyone talks about, uses the Visa comparison. I always forget what it is, 45,000 transactions per second or whatever. Like what's
what we're competing against?
Yeah, what's the Lightning limit or equivalent or?
So in theory, it doesn't have a transaction per second limit because none of the transactions are stored in any central place. Where it does find a limitation is in the amount of on-chain transactions that can be used to close channels. If the Bitcoin remains off the blockchain and in payment channels, then it can scale to theoretically infinite transactions. However, for those transactions, you would have to pay a transaction fee for every hop through every node. Your node is then also responsible for calculating the path that has the least amount of fees that it pays to get through, or alternatively, the most probability of successfully paying through by going through high liquidity nodes. So the node's got to calculate that in advance. It can't know it as it goes through. It's not. Each node doesn't direct the payments. The sender of the transaction has to direct the payment through the network.
Right, and just in terms of confirmation, because everyone says it's super quick, but can you confirm? Is it one of those things that you can confirm it like within seconds, or do you still have to wait for multiple confirmation? That's still.
You don't wait for multiple confirmations, I think is what you mean. You don't wait for blockchain confirmations. You wait for the node to confirm that it has received the payment through its inter-networked channels. So the node will receive it. It'll send a signal that it's been received, but that money can't be spent on-chain until the channel is closed. And the liquidity within the channel is limited to one way or the other. It's not an unbounded liquidity. It's fixed liquidity that has to be locked in before you do the transaction. So to take you through the process of onboarding someone onto the Lightning Network, first of all, before they do anything, they have to open an exchange account and buy Bitcoin. So that might take however long the exchange's verification process is. So that's at least 1 day. Then they have to download a Bitcoin full node and synchronize it, which can take on the order of 5 to 7 days to do. Then they have to run a Lightning node and open a channel with the person they want to have a transaction with and have enough Bitcoin to match the amount of Bitcoin they want to receive. So then they have to wait for the confirmations, then they can start sending payments through the channel, and it brings the onboarding time and cost for a user on Bitcoin from about 20 seconds if we were to use Bitcoin Cash to about a week if we were to use the Lightning Network, and that radically slows down the adoption rate.
I understand at the moment it takes a while to set up. But I assume that you'll eventually be able to use like a remote node or something. You won't have to set your node up.
So what is happening is that there are forces at play creating a problem, and their solution is open an account with us, we'll do all the hard stuff, and you just see a number on a screen like a Bitcoin bank account is where they're probably going to go with this. In my view.
Thanks. The other thing for the nodes to operate, they have to have your private keys on the node. So it's all
it has to be a hot wallet.
They're all hot. Yeah.
No cold wallet. It has to be countersigned with your private key.
Yeah.
Every transaction is countersigned.
The other thing is the idea is you can, if there's any wrongdoings in the network, you can take it back to the blockchain as the ground court basically to.
There's a penalty if you don't post the latest state. If you post out of order state, someone can post the transaction.
Is there something to do with the watchtower? I heard some term watchtower.
Watchtower is you're outsourcing the monitoring of someone trying to post an updated state. Right, instead of you having your computer online 24, your phone online all the time, trying to check your counterparty cheating, you have someone else do it for you. So the problem here is security is now shifted from a minor point of view to the individual. Right, the node you're responsible for processing you're having a node that processes it, countersigns it, and it's up to you to secure your Bitcoin on the Lightning Network against your counterparty. Because the person that you deal with, you now can't trust them because they have incentive to take your Bitcoins.
So what's sort of the net feel for people here? It sounds like a lot of negative.
The way I put it is Lightning Network is the Bitcoining of Bitcoin.
I've never met a pro Bitcoin person, a pro Lightning Network person in real life.
I don't know. I'm not going to make judgments until I get used to it. So.
It sounds very unlikely. It sounds very unlikely.
You can carry $100 in your wallet and still have a secure, something with a bank or something else.
That's a good point. Like for smaller payments, you're right. It sounds like there's.
That's called censorship. It means that Lightning means we censor big transactions on Lightning, and Bitcoin means that we're going to censor small transactions. That's censorship of money.
It just means it's opt in.
If you put a threshold to what's big, what's small, you're censoring money.
People put their own threshold by their acceptance of what fees they wish to pay.
It's artificial.
It's not artificial.
You can pay a lot of fees with on-chain transactions with Bitcoin Cash.
The capacity is artificially limited.
So do that.
The capacity and the fee market is artificially created by limiting it. If you remove that artificial limit, then it works like cash. Cash has to have a 1-to-1 liquidity to transaction ratio. Lightning does not offer you a 1-to-1 liquidity.
Cash.
No, cash. Yeah. Any type of money, cash, has to have a 1-to-1 liquidity to transaction ratio. If you want to transact $100, all the liquidity you need is $100. You don't need someone else to put up, you don't need 20 people to put up $100 so you can move from point A to point B. You just bang it from here, A to B, with $100. That's how cash works. Electronic peer-to-peer cash has to have a 1-to-1 liquidity to transaction ratio, or it's not electronic cash.
So the people that are very pro Lightning, none of them are actually pro Lightning as in they think it's good. What they sort of feel is Bitcoin has this massive problem, which is scalability, and it sucks. But you have two possible solutions. One, it's increase the block size, which leads to, you're talking about censorship, leads to, in their mind, leads to centralization of miners. So if Bitcoin takes over the world and every single transaction is on Bitcoin, there's going to be, I don't know what the number would be, but say megabytes, gigabytes of data that needs to be transacted every block. That leads, in their opinion, to centralization of miners because you need massive servers to process all those transactions, and average Joe block cannot do that themselves. So you can't run a node because you need gigabytes of data to be transacted in and out every 10 minutes. So what they're saying is, so what the problem with that is, you lead to centralization of miners, and then they can censor things. So if there's, say, 4 or 5 big miners in the world, and they don't like you for whatever reason, they don't have to approve your transactions. They can go, this wallet belongs to person X, we don't like them, we're not processing those transactions, so you can never ever get anything through. It doesn't matter what you pay, doesn't matter what the fees are, they have the power. So the idea of Lightning Network or off-chain solutions is, we have a problem with scalability, we have two shit solutions. Shit A is give centralization to miners. Shit B is let's give this off-chain solution where, in theory, everyone can run nodes, everyone can keep it sort of decentralized, and yes, it's shit, but it's less shit than giving centralization to miners. So that is the pro-argument of off-chain solutions in my mind.
We only have a couple of minutes left, so what I think would be a good thing to do, because we've heard so much against one side, is just quickly touch on what you were literally just talking about then, with the increase in the block size, and then obviously that becoming out of control for the average person. How is that any different, say, from now? Right? Isn't there already a centralization of miners? And
there is a massive centralization of miners, and it's a big worry to me in this whole space.
So are we talking about a future that's like what we already have now, or are we talking about like a whole nother level?
A whole nother level. They think much, much, much worse.
Even worse than that.
100 times worse.
I'd like to put all this into some sort of perspective, all right? Right now, BTC, when you mine a block, you get $103,309 right now. The last block that was mined had a Coinbase of $103,000. The number of transactions on that block was 1,620 transactions. That is a per transaction inflation cost to the whole of BTC holders of more than $50 a transaction. In other words, the whole network is paying more than $50 a transaction to inflation. We are inflating BTC to pay miners at a rate of more than $50 a transaction.
I don't have time to check this, but this is completely contradictory to what I've seen over the last 24 hours.
$100,000 a block, 1,620 transactions. Just do the basic math. It's around
wait. How much were you saying was in fees on the latest block?
This is not even fees. This is the Coinbase. 100,000. Let's just put 100,000 divided by 1,600.
So wait, is that mining reward included?
The mining block reward, yeah.
Yes. The fees was 1,520.
That's absolutely no different to Bitcoin Cash then.
That's right.
That's right. That's why we need to increase the number of transactions per block about 100 times.
But the fees right now on Bitcoin in sats are lower than on Bitcoin Cash, which makes no sense. But because neither of the blocks.
Both of them need transactions to be increased to justify the inflation cost to the whole of BTC.
But the inflation has got nothing to do with the inflation is to do with rewarding the miners.
Where does that come from?
Inflation is to bootstrap the environment.
Yeah,
correct.
Where does that money
the
come
game
from?
theory incentive for miners to exist is the mining reward. So that exists entirely to incentivize miners to exist to secure your payments.
That money, that value.
The mining having done on that, it's incredibly expensive. And
Sure.
And things keep going up, and electricity goes up even in the cheap places.
So what it means is we need to have these miners process more transactions per block. We can't have miners processing just 1,600. They have the capacity to process 100,000 transactions a block with no sweat.
Okay.
And it doesn't require any more hash. And you don't have to pay, the whole BTC community do not have to pay the miners extra to make them.
I understand that. I'm incentivising them. You have to keep, if you want to have the miners to operate at all, you've got to pay them enough to cover the cost of running mines.
The reason
It doesn't increase the demand to run, it doesn't increase the resources to process 100,000 transactions.
The reason that MasterCard and Visa are so expensive is because you're paying them to make trusted payments for you. You're paying them to represent you, to give trust to someone who you... So if I go into McDonald's, I want to buy a Big Mac. McDonald's doesn't know me, they don't want to follow me up. I swipe my MasterCard goes, this is a good dude, I will pay you, and he will pay me, and you can trust me because I'm MasterCard, I'm a Big Mac. So we pay MasterCard and Visa to be the trust.
I prefer that argument.
Merchants pay the cost.
Yeah, the merchants. It's us trusting the merchant and the Visa. It's the wrong way round. You're the wrong way round, but it's the right
argument. It doesn't
argument.
matter because McDonald's puts their burgers up by $1 and I pay it, whether I pay it directly to them or whether I pay it to Visa, their price is gone. But we're paying for that trust.
Visa is getting paid twice. It's being paid by the customer who pays interest, and they're being paid by the merchant who gets
but they give the provider of the goods, they give the guarantee that the goods will be delivered, and that's a strong guarantee.
But they put the onus on the merchant. I mean,
I've been a merchant
for Visa where, you know, where if something happens and there's a chargeback, you're going to cop it as the merchant. They don't really care. They don't actually they don't take the risk. They make you take the risk.
This is a sidetrack.
Anyway, but the point is that miners can mine a lot more without any extra hardware, without extra electricity cost. It's negligible for them to do 100,000 transactions per block right now.
Electricity wise, the only argument is
even processing wise. That laptop right there can do 100,000 transactions. There's no reason why a miner can't do. They get 100 grand a block. 100 grand to get lucky with a block. Please.
Which
right?
Some
you can
would
buy a
argue
computer
is
to do it.
Completely the opposite idea of what Bitcoin is meant to be. In the traditionalist mindset, Bitcoin is meant to be person to person. No mining pools, no big companies, no big servers, just you. You, me, and everyone that uses it.
That's the altruistic idea, but it's not possible. It's not possible. You need to have a gaming model that's based on greed and aligning it with the objective of the blockchain, that is to get the transactions done.
I actually completely agree with that there.
So you can't decentralize the network down to a
No, I do. Game theory is the whole. Bitcoin's nothing new.
Yeah.
Bitcoin is old technology. The only thing Bitcoin has it for it that no one else had is it had the game theory. Yeah. It had, let's make everyone greedy, and if everyone on their own is greedy, that benefits everyone. That's what Bitcoin white paper has that nothing had before.
You can't limit the scaling of a world scale project like this down to a shitty node. You can't limit the scaling down to a shitty node.
This is going to go on forever.
One last point. No last point. You get to talk about tonight. You can make it the start of your presentation. Lucky for you, you get to talk later. So we're going to do 90-second pitches before we wrap up, have a quick break, and then Harrison's going to start. So can I get a couple of people up here for 90-second pitches?
Hi, my name is Julio. I work for BitcoinDealers.com.au. We have an office here in the city. We are over-the-counter Bitcoin main crypto exchange. But also we have a very a service that is, we do loans against crypto. So we could lend you against your crypto that we hold as collateral. So we make an agreement, and we could lend you from like 1.5% a month interest up to, depends on the amount of money that we lend you. So for a lot of people that they think it's going to increase and they want some liquidity, we could offer you that service.
Sure, I have one of the loans.
You need, I have some business cards that I could provide at the end.
I'm going to have to renegotiate my interest.
It depends on how much we lend you. I mean, in the website bitcoindealers.com.au, and you click on loans, you see the chart of how much we the percentage.
Thank you.
Hi everyone, my name is Serge. I'm third time here, so I'm pretty new here. We run a physical mining here in Melbourne. So a few words were said about miners. So we are one of those pioneers in Australia. We've been mining for about 6 months. At approximate speed now is 700 terahash. But we do have some capacity in our mining, and since the market is a little bit, hopefully, a little bit getting up, it could be interesting for someone to know how it works. As well as we do have some opportunities, we do have some capacity and power on our mining, as well as we've got a lowest rate, what we believe the lowest rate in power. So if anyone interested in try it, or get to know about it, or invest in it, or get any information, please come and see me. My name is Serge. I'll be very happy to show you what we do, what we've done, statistics, data, and to be honest, we do have some profit now. Hopefully the price will get higher, and we'll be more efficient. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else for anyone else? Sean.
Hello everyone, my name is Eugene. I'm actually doing studies in Melbourne at Melbourne Business School, but I used to be a lawyer back in Central and Eastern Europe. Worked for a couple of US law firms over there, and now I'm doing legal support. After the hype of 2017, everything is going more mature in terms of legal support of ICO regulated token placements. So basically I'm now head of legal for one of the companies in Central Eastern Europe, which is developing its own blockchain, which will be attached to solar and wind power farms, which is quite an interesting idea. And also I have quite a lot of ties in the world of crypto exchange, ICOs and financial ICOs back in Europe. So if everyone is interested, I'm a part of digital lawyers community worldwide. So just reach out to me if you're interested in kind of European market developments. Thanks.
And if you didn't use cologne, you didn't want to. It smells great. Smells good. Alright.
That's because you've been travelling for a while.
What's
that smell?
Maybe I just smell bad. I'm not sure. It could be either way. Alright, let's take a quick break and we'll come back and get on with Azura.
Alright, 2 minutes, bathroom and drinks. But before we do, thank you to Shannon for moderating.
What's that smell?
Maybe I just smell bad. I'm not sure. It could be either way. Alright, let's take a quick break and we'll come back and get on with Azura.
Alright, 2 minutes.